Hello everyone and welcome to my oil painting class, and today we are exploring some extra exciting festive colors from a cathedral stroke nowadays a museum mosque from Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. So we've got some gorgeous interior designs. I've got my own photograph here. We are on that first floor. So we're looking out in a similar view. We've got some gorgeous arches and windows and chandeliers. And I'd love us to look at the work of Jean Martin, who painted this gorgeous piece. I'm really enjoying to see some of the fantastic merge of warm and cool colors and some gorgeous shadows. So I really wanted to interpret my own photograph and create a composition which could just reflect what's on my photograph, but also I really the darker colors here and the wide bold balcony doesn't quite give the justice of what I've seen there. So what I've done a quick sketch adjusting my composition, and I also would like to use the influence of colors in my own work here as well. So what I've done, first of all, decided to look at the column which is here in the middle and perhaps just move it a little bit more towards the left. I can see another column just about, it's quite dark, but there is a capital of one column and another column. So they are there. So it's kind of very similar angle here, but from a different floor. So I've included them as just small hints of them there, okay? I've also lowered that balcony view. So I still got the couple there, but the balcony view is going to stay here, and I'll talk you through that one. And then the rest of the interior comes in. I also might consider, we've got two bold lights from the chandeliers, but depending how the colors will come out at the back wall of the cathedral, I might just use one chandelier. I might just play with that idea and see how that feels. So let's straight away start with the sketch, and I'll talk you through again, so some of the placements of certain elements. I'm going to use some turbs first, and I will use some violet and Payne's grey. I'll shout out the colors I've got on my palette once I've done my sketch. Right, so I'm just diluting the purple and violet, nice and runny. And let's start with the sketch, the sketch with that column which divide our picture vertically. So this is halfway through my picture, maybe almost a third. I think it's almost divides. Maybe the left border of the column might be my third. So approximately, and I'm going to make my columns much narrower. So I might just even go straight away. It might be easier for me to do that line as well. So just pressing. You can also use a piece of card. Sometimes using a piece of paper, a piece of card, just helping you out to do some of the straighter lines. Okay. So I think for now, that might be enough. Now, we don't have to have a perfect straight line yet. We can work with it after. Okay. And I will also draw a narrower line for my my most left column. I will leave a tiny bit of space. Maybe just move it a little forward, more towards the center. Tiny bit of space between that column and the end of the painting. Now you might see my pencil lines. This is where I'd like to finish my painting today. Don't worry if you can't see them. Okay, so perhaps somewhere here. Okay. They more or less could be the same width. If the most left column will be a tiny bit narrow, that will be even better. But if they will be approximately the same width, absolutely fine. The most right column I'm going to leave out. This is the border of where my picture ends. Just in case if you can't see it too well. Okay. Sometimes it's easier to have slightly bigger picture, bigger surface for the board, for mounting purposes, for framing purposes. So I just made it a tiny bit bigger today. So these are just the ends of my painting. Right, and then next I'm going to plan the capitals of the columns. So it's a top decorative element. And they're just so very similar to Jean Martin's work. That layout, one capital is here, one is there. So it's all really quite exciting. So I'm going to have almost a bucket, like a narrower shape bucket at the top. Okay. And another one from this side. I might even take it as an element from the artist's work because mine is right in the shadow. It's harder to see what shape it might be. So perhaps some of the borders here. So borders, something standing out. Okay. Maybe a little bit narrower in comparison to my current shape. Okay, that might be enough. Wider brush strokes will fill that space as well. If we want to, we can even paint it over. That will stay in the silhouette there as well. And my most left column, looking at my design, I'm going to continue an arch so we can see almost the width, the ceiling part of the arch. Okay. And my columns capital will start much lower. Okay. Just place it a bit more here. Then you can see where we're going to be. So that's immediately gives us an idea of perspective. Okay. Maybe it will go a tiny bit lower just for a little shape to show. Okay. There is a row of columns which goes around the perimeter by the balcony, but there are also columns and arches going within that space. So I think this is a column which is lower and it's creates probably holds the ceiling over us. That's why it's not quite probably the other. If we would have continued this row of columns, it might have been another one or here or on the same level, but this one is a bit low and it's a bit wider. So that gives me an idea what that space is. Okay. What I'll do next, I'll plan how much light I'm going to keep for the floor. And And what I've done on my sketch, I looked at Jean Martin's work, and I love that floor, that shadow, the dark shadow with some of the reflections, and that blue light. And I think my marble balcony rail could become that very similar pattern of light. So I'm going to have a narrow block of pale blue and slightly wider one here. Okay, it might be stepping out, it might be that perspective is moving, changing things. It also gives me an opportunity to think, okay, if I were to have two people standing here, okay, what size they're going to be. Okay, the head is already too big, so ideally I want to start with the bodies. I want to do the lady's wonderful white scarf. So perhaps if I were to put them slightly wider, taller bodies, they might be even coming out from the page, but the heads could be much smaller. Okay. The columns are standing on some sort of plinth. So again, that could be just enlarged and I'm thinking of boxes of color or shapes of color. What they're going to be, how they're going to look, what's that color might need to shape it, and how would it look, would it read well visually from one color moving into another. Okay, I think that's okay. Might create that visual illusion of light as well. Okay, and now we can look at the space behind. We can actually look behind our balcony and find what we'd like to bring in. Now, I've broken the whole interior into two sections. The top one, which have that big semicircle shape, and then a row of arches of the balconies there as well. So that is a little bit lower than halfway through my picture. So again, if this is approximately halfway through, maybe I can make it lower. And let's just place it as a big shape before doing any details of windows to make absolute sure that that is the direction we want to have it. This is meant to be a horizontal line. Okay, and I'm going to look at my sketch. I quite like how it's fitted in. We've got some of these lines started. There's not much space left for the top, so perhaps that's how I'll know if that's going to be too big or is that's going to be, that's probably that extra little layer. Okay, and that's going to come out somewhere there. Okay. Gonna do the whole double layer or that ornament or row of ornaments going in that semicircle. Can all of it come in? Can I see that width? Does it make my whole shape any rounder or stretched, or sometimes just gives you that form a bit better and for corrections? Okay. We're allowed to use artistic license. We are doing our own design. We have references. first-hand observation, and we've got the references from a style of an artist we like. So it just gives us a good comparison if you wanted to do something of your own, you're not too sure how do you go about it. Look for inspirational artwork. It doesn't always have to be the same piece. I was very lucky to have something very similar, almost identical here. But sometimes you could be just finding other work you like of other interiors. It doesn't have to be even same cathedrals. It might be street light, it might be market light, it might be all sorts of things. Right, and what I'm going to do next, I'm going to look for the row of these balconies. It's just a little bit above people's heads, unless my people will have to be smaller. Now, the reason I wanted to do these arches not overly tall, I wanted to include the lower row of the lower floor arches. It's almost like this kind of volume of the interior I'm taking. Just slightly elongating, so I'm just almost opening that space and giving us more of a view. Okay, so if I were to find overall my center line, it might just give me a little approximate guide for the windows and other shapes. Okay, we're gonna have another row. If I'll put it a little lower. Right, and let's start with the top for the windows. Let's just place a couple in the center. So it will give us the proportion. Are we in the right track here? Okay, these windows will be somewhere here. So nice and tall here. Another row, and nice and round, quite decorative. They're just decorative panels. So open windows with light through, windows which are dark, perhaps something is built behind it, so they're no longer functional windows. Decorative pattern. Another mini balcony shape. And then I'm moving further down, and I'm going to look at some of the designs here. It's harder to detect what's actually happening there, so that's another simplification version I've decided on. So put in small arches here, and perhaps a larger semicircle for the starting of the ground floor shapes. Okay. Now it's a little bit easier for me because I already planned it and I already thought through it. I already kind of in my mind worked through which window's taller, which one's smaller, which one is what type of shape it's going to have. So it's a little bit easier for me in that sense. So now I'm just going to replicate. If this is a row of light windows, they will have some beautiful lights through them. Okay, that's might be there. And we've got a little one further back, a little one. I actually squeezed it out further. Maybe I'll make it taller here. How did I squeeze it in there? I'm just checking if I can make it. It's quite nice having it a little wide. I think my windows are a bit too small here. Let's have a look. And that's how I wanted to see that lovely proportion. If you're happy with your proportion, You're happy with where you want to place things, you rather not change it, that's absolutely fine as well. I think I might just make this shape slightly higher, and then my windows could be taller. Yeah, slightly wider here. Maybe that central line. Maybe my central line as well. If I move it gently, then my window will come. I just really want that small window being in there. I think it just gives me a lovely composition. Okay. Maybe the central line is going to be somewhere here. Maybe then these ones could go slightly taller. Okay. Okay, let's give it another go. Yeah. Just looking at the proportion of the windows. Okay, maybe these lines will go slightly taller. I'm gonna squash it too much now. And let's work out these shapes out first. Big enough window. Okay, this one's nice and tall. Okay, I can squeeze this one in here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Make it really tall here. And not give much light, sorry. Everything is quite reflective now for you on my screen. Okay. Maybe my column could go tiny bit more towards the right as well. Okay, maybe those adjustments will come in. Just a little bit further on the left. And my composition from a small sketch has changed. Because this dome with all these lovely windows is so unique and so specific, I really wanted to have it the same. If it's not a big deal for you, I wouldn't worry if you would not do that adjustment. I think that's well. That's okay, good here. Just drop this one down here. Move these lines down here. Never want you to feel that you can't change your mind, you can't move things about. For your own work. So, okay, this is gonna stay here. Okay, that's all good here. Stay behind. That might just be behind there as well. Right. Next row, much smaller. And they're not quite in the same proportions to the photograph, but I'm more interested in connecting the left and the right parts of the picture. And maybe if I would have more time, maybe it wouldn't have been a big deal if from my earlier sketch to what I've just adjusted, but felt quite strong about it earlier on. Right, so if the top windows, we've got the tallest one, the two in between, and the smaller ones further away. The second row, they're all the same. They started from the center, and then they've got the same gaps between them. They're the same height. So that stays. They're not quite one window behind another. So that will be all fine. One will be somewhere here. Another one might be somewhere here. Okay. And then we've got a row of patterns. Okay, that's all fine. Then we've got a narrow balcony. And then I've got my arches. Okay, that will be quite nice for them. Also a good lesson for all of us when we're doing a small sketch. Sometimes doing the bigger one, sometimes you do a color sketch, or if you're doing this type of size painting and you want to do a much larger one version, translating its proportions is very, very important. Otherwise, yeah, shapes and tones suddenly not quite working. Right, so these ones going to be here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to draw those spaces first. We'll see where they're going to take me. Okay, and then it's going to have finishing tops. That's going to be too long. Let's continue this one. Let's continue behind my column here as well. And then there will be some columns in between. Okay. Maybe a bit wide. Oh, we could have done the row of columns first and then adjusted them to the arches. The rhythm, that's what I'm interested in. So now I looked at the rhythm now. I haven't been looking at the photograph. It's hard to judge because there are windows behind those columns. If you look at that elaborate light Jean Martin came up with, I'd love to do something in the style of something we can relate with the colors. Just bring this shape back. Okay, and then these shapes will come back as well. Okay. Which chapter is that now? Also, the chandelier, might just put it as a line. I was considering putting it lower, but then it's just above the heads of our visitors here. And also it loses that space, it makes the whole space in front of us where we're standing here on this platform, on this floor, quite small and less significant. So I raise it up. If you put too high, you clashing with the arches here. So we need to do something in between, maybe where the arches are, just finishing. Maybe somewhere here. And again, I'm moving it a little bit further in. It's just behind the column. It might just have a little end coming through on the left, on the right, and on the left here as well. Behind, maybe this one's going to have in front of the column actually. I think that might be a better view. So we're considering all these shapes as we sketching as we at the planning stage, how the shape's going to clash or come across. Okay. That's good. Okay, I'm happy with that. I exaggerated some of the windows. They could be tweaked when we start getting some color out. Right, I think I'm going to stop with my drawing. And let's have a look at some colors. Right, I'd love us to start with some lighter tones. Now, if the lower part of our interior and perhaps the lower and incoming kind of frame part of the picture, I mean the arch, just a very, very narrow one here, which absorbs the columns here. If they will stay cool, let's just explore that warmth. Because we already have a darker background, I think that will be quite exciting to see some light first, and then we can come back to medium tones and then the shadows. Now on my palette, I have some cadmium yellow, ochre, cadmium orange, magenta or madder rose, violet, and Payne's grey. That's what we've been using so far. And I also have some white and emerald green. We might use it later on, but mainly cerulean or cobalt blue and ultramarine. Right, so I'm going to go for a slightly larger brush first, And I'm really going to get some inspiration of colors and boldness of light from Jean Martin's work. So let's get some oil on my brush first. I get some white. I put my cool colors a little bit separate so they're not going to get mixed up. Okay, so some white. We're going to start with the darker tones on our warm color. So probably something that pinky purple, orangey pinks. I really like that little corner behind the most left column as well. So any of those darker tones would be fantastic. So I'm going to add to my white some yellow and some cadmium orange. Okay. And to know if it's good darkness, good color or not, you can just place it. Maybe somewhere here on one of my windows. They will be lighter, but it does appear very light. So perhaps for some darkness, I can add more cadmium orange and a little more magenta from rose madder. Still some yellow in there. Okay, it might give me the very red color. So let's just see. Okay, it's quite powerful. Pink, pinky red. I think maybe somewhere here in the column might be a good color. So I've tested it. It looks too red to me, but perhaps somewhere here it might be possible. Okay. So I need something a little bit lighter. So I'm going to add more white and maybe a hint of violet. So it's not going to be so red. I want the warmth, but don't want that strength of red. So violet will make the colors slightly darker. Okay, let's place it now here. It might give me more of the feel for that yellowish plaster. Yeah, instead of the bold red, that yellowish plaster wall. Okay, let's just put some of that color and see what we can blend it with. Okay, so I have mainly cooler red, so magenta, violet. There's still a bit of that orange present, so it's not a fresh purple color. Okay. I'm going to use this slightly darker color, perhaps in this corner, this bottom corner of my warm interior. I'm also going to use it as I still have it, perhaps in between the balconies, arches of the first floor. Maybe just something, just dragging a bit of color. There will be all these lovely oriental patterns there. Okay. Well, this color is quite neutral. It's not overly bold in red, or it's not overly light. It's something a bit more neutral might give us that opportunity to work with. In a number of areas. So then the other colors could support it. Okay, maybe something now. I think I might go for slightly more purple, tiny bit darker, violet and rose madder, and just want to check how this color will come on some of the shadows. Okay, maybe even, no, I think that's quite nice. I think that's quite nice darkness. My brush, my filbert brush gives a good easy stroke to create the space within the arches. We'll just come up with some simple shapes here as well. Okay, maybe some of this warmer color, but a little bit darker version. Might be a little bit here as well. And perhaps part of our large semicircle pattern. I'm adjusting my painting to the reference artist work just to see what suggestions might give me. So if this section is all light, then it moves to the coolness. I need to balance my central segment and that left one. So if everything is going to be all the same, might be less exciting if we'll have bolder colors maybe in this central area and a little more cooler and a little bit more darker colors in other. That's my other thoughts here. Okay, also this might be a good color, this violet and magenta for the space, the ceiling part of the arch. Okay. Any darker version for them? A little bit of the column space. It might just give us a hint of color here. Apologies, it's reflecting just quite a darkish tone on top of my darker strokes. Okay, the same as could go perhaps somewhere here. Any other spaces you might find and think that will be quite exciting, go for it. Okay. Now if I'll add a little more light, I think I'm also just exploring still how do I paint all this beautiful light. Yeah, very easily we can get some yellows and whites and oranges and whites, but if we were to bring in between and darker tones, we can always blend that color. Okay, maybe something there. I'll have a little more white. Maybe we can have a gentle light on our spot here. So far my choices of colors are coming from slightly darker and then variations of it. Yeah, slightly lighter. Anywhere else I can find it where I can place it perhaps. Okay, perhaps these patterns as well, they don't have to be super light. They could stay slightly darker. I'm also testing my colors. If I'll go slightly lighter within any of these colors, it's a bit different. It's not a big deal as long as we are with that range of colors. There's a little belt of that balcony of that pattern, really. No, I think that's might be too light. Quite like what Jean Martin is doing here. She picks up a darker surface and then it blends into the light and then it blends with the darkness. So I might borrow that idea and make this belt not solid dark brown as we have on the photograph, but have that playful light. Now, if I would have had more time in Hagia Sophia, maybe I would have had a variety of light during the day and seen a variety of light effects and shadow effects. So as I had a limited opportunity, so that's borrowing somebody's experience is very helpful. I think that might work. And I want you to feel encouraged that you could borrow ideas of the artist you like, or what we do in class. How can you bring it into your own work in your own time? Okay, so it's quite darkish, soft tones so far. Okay, let's have a look at some warmer colors and some lighter, some lighter, warmer colors. Right, so I just wipe my brush. It's not super clean, but it is cleaner. I'll get some fresh yellow and white. Okay. I also love the idea that our artist is using making the windows much darker. That blue is coming through the windows, that blue sky, which you probably could see when you're there, but obviously the camera picks up the light rather than the color. So my white and yellow almost will go bold. This is slightly darker version. I know this white and yellow could go really glowing white, but this is kind of lighter color, but it's still on the darker side. Let's just plan overall light, almost like the base layer for this color. I'm also picking up my violet and black lines from the sketch and they're smudging into slightly darker version of color. So use it as your base first. Okay. My light perhaps will distribute here more. Okay, that's where I can see my window. I need to move a little more. Actually, it's good that the smudgy violet from our sketch lines is there. It's softens the boldness of the light. Okay, a little wobbly windows, but it will work for now. And I'm gonna add a little more orange my cadmium orange. So I'm planning that stretch of color. Okay, if you don't have enough pigment, if it's too diluted, maybe just top up your volume of white. So I'm just planning roughly how this light is going to come out. And then I can focus on the quality of them, of the painting, of the color, of the strokes. Now I think a little bit of this light could come through my orange window. I think I'll make it darker orange. And it's quite a striking color because I want to put more cool colors around this area. And this could go nice and orange as well, but it's going to be surrounding slightly a bit darker colors. Yeah, maybe it's still a bit more darker colors here. Okay. So I'm debating, I'm discussing it with myself, what shapes and colors will be. Right, if I'll go for a tiny bit more stronger orange or similar color, I really feel strong of adding some light orange somewhere here. I want that connection of light. Perhaps that connection of light to the bow, to that ornament pattern. Okay, so I'm testing the waters, I'm checking things out. Right, maybe similar orange. So I'm using the orange and yellow, bit of white, slightly different intensity, slightly darker, slightly lighter. How about finding some boldness of color somewhere here? Just making that color travel a little bit more in a few more places here. Looking at the volumes of those colors, quite similar sizes here. So can I again perhaps make that connection? Okay, and maybe this orange. Just thinking it might be in small quantities while I have darker background. Okay, dabs didn't quite work. Maybe somewhere here. Okay. That's giving me much more confidence in going ahead. Where's my warm colors, right? So I can tweak all of this. My rows of pattern in this area is not going to continue one line all the way around. It might be the outer orange, then somewhere in on the inside orange, then again inner or outer line. So it's going to be a bit more lost and found, and also just very playful. So it's almost like reflecting light. Sophia had the interior of mosaic surface all inside of it, and it's had that famous shimmering effect, that glowing. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'm really excited to start developing my warm colors, but I want to see how the cool colors will come in. What's going to happen to the cool colors, how they will support and make the oranges glow. So I'm going to have to put my warm brush aside, and I'm going to pick up a cool brush now, well, clean brush, which will become a cool brush. Let me check if I have a similar size. Yes. So for my cool colors, we have our two blues, ultramarine and cerulean blue. And if you have some emerald green, that would be great as well. We can also use our violet, of course. So let's explore those. So some fresh oil on my clean brush. Load it with some clean yellow, white, sorry. That's, I'm going to use that white for my warm colors and this white for some cool colors. I'm going to start with some ultramarine, but lighter ultramarine. I'm going to test it out in comparison to cerulean. If you don't have cerulean, cobalt blue is fine as well. You just might need a bit more white with it. Okay, let's test. I'm going to make this area. There will be some shadows there as well, but perhaps looking into this lovely, lovely blue. And a bit stronger, deeper color. Let's test it out. Yeah, it's a little bit too dark. But this lovely dark could come. Just really explore as you will be mixing your color, where you think we might put it. Where would it work? Where that additional color might come in. Maybe that darkness will come into the window. Let's just place it and let's just test it. Right, so something not as dark, maybe medium between my first line and those other shapes. Maybe something in between. So I'm painting so far blocks. I'm not overly changing them yet. So I'm testing out the water here almost, yeah. testing the darkness, I'm testing the color, checking how it will start reacting, and then I will enrich those shapes. Okay, so my columns probably will be of a similar blue. Okay, you can see how the dark purple black outline helps us out to create some extra shadows. Really exciting. Okay, might leave this one a bit more darker. Maybe it will be more blue and violet in color. Let's just test where this ultramarine could go. Part of that section. Again, it's continuous, but will I put the same color behind the column? Maybe not, but maybe I can put something here. So it's the same, but it might be changing its color in this area. Okay. So darker ultramarine. Gonna test. I wanted to put some cerulean here, but let's see how combination of them will work. If the dark ultramarine is here in one corner, and maybe cerulean will come in into another corner. Just using subtones of the ultramarine, making it slightly lighter, slightly darker. Just vary them. I'm not sure if it's going to be the final decision for them. So that playfulness is part of our development. I'm really enjoying using just direct ultramarine as well. Bit of extra white here, which I'm trying to smudge and create more of a plain color. Okay. Right, let's try some cerulean. So I'm wiping most of my deep ultramarine off. Just gonna get some fresh white and cerulean. Okay, it's not just lighter color, but also got that zing of turquoise in it. Maybe that's where some of the light, playful lights will come in. Okay, we'll see that's too much, or maybe just enough. Some of these shapes and could start building up that light. and the change of color. So lighter, darker, slightly darker cerulean, just dabs. This will create a range of pattern, just testing again what the pattern might be. Maybe it would be better if I were to put some darker pattern. The white doesn't look like it stands out nice here. Maybe a lighter cerulean will be a good color for our windows. And I still haven't made my final decision about the windows. So for now, I'll just put a little bit of color, maybe not for all of them. Okay, any of the other light. And just that not planned light, it can't quite judge where it comes from. Is it there is a gap through the main dome? Is it some other light streaming through a side window or group of windows? So it's just catching it here and there, and that becomes quite playful, similar to what happened when we were painting woodland. And the tree trunks were just in and out of that light, just playing with that light. Okay. That's why I'm not overly rushing and filling all the spaces. Okay. Maybe this blue will come on top of our pattern here. Now, because we're painting on top of a warm color, you might just need to keep wiping your brush so the fresh blue will continue being fresh. Okay, just placing some of it and just seeing what's gonna happen. And some of these areas have a little bit of blue. Okay. Any other light paler blue. Let's place some of it. That's quite light. Maybe a stronger cerulean, darker cerulean. So I'm painting a part of one wall and then I'm moving into close by design ornament with a similar color, which will start making extra connections for us. So if you're not doing the same area, just as long as you have similar connections, yeah, you put painting part of the wall, can you touch up another window or a small part of a column somewhere? I think maybe there will be some light here. It's nice. Okay, so now I'm creating my own color patterns. Now I've started with the artist's ideas, some of that inspiration, and first groups of colors were partial copies, partial borrowing of ideas. Now I'm looking what I have on my surface and working with that to make my decisions. And the more colors you'll have on your surface, the easier it will become for you to make those judgments. Right, I think that's meant to be a balcony. Okay, columns could be painted back. So we're really painting a jewel of a interior. Everything becomes quite shiny. Everything becomes that playful. You can pick up the logic of the of this little game. And make it your own. Okay, right, so something medium to dark. Maybe to finish these corners. Just gonna make sure I have a clean color. I'm not picking up too strong border in orange. Okay. Right, and I think I'm gonna start adding some darker tones. So then I definitely know which one's going to remain dark as part of my background, current background, and also which colors then I can freely work into. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix my blues with some violet. So I'm going to get my ultramarine. It will mix better with violet because it's already got some of that violet hint of color. So it just makes my ultramarine deeper. Sometimes modern ultramarines come quite diluted with white. So that purpley blue, if it becomes too purple, come back to some ultramarine or cobalt blue. to kind of neutralize it a bit more. So I'm looking for some shadows. Okay, that will be a dark one, quite a cool one. Right, let's start with these ones then. Okay, looks nice, but not too sure if it's gonna be dark enough here. Now, this is going to be my chandelier. I can paint over that line. And because it's gonna have some bold chunks of whites and whitish colors, it would be better if I were to leave it blank or partially blank. Okay, so, right. Can I get it a tiny bit more darker? And I can start also varying that color, just placing a little hint of change within that shape. Or slightly lighter and then partially slightly darker. Okay. Let's swap its tonal characteristics. Yeah, what was light there maybe becomes darker here. Okay, anything else of a similar color? Can I block some of these ones here? Let's see what's gonna happen. Let's see if this deeper blue started in some elements of relief. Okay, maybe these are too much. Now, when we start overlapping more and more warm colors with cool colors, try to overlap darker colors first. Well, no, not first. The dark colors will overlap easier. So my blue is darker. It goes easier over the orange, but I just need to make sure I have a clean brush every time. If I want to have something light overlapping dark, I might consider using small brush and a chunk of paint for it to work. Okay, can I go even darker now? I'll go more violet way. I think that will be a good darkness. So might have that extra connection with our columns. Nice silhouette, which I'll intensify close to my chandelier here, and then it might get slightly lighter out. Might put a little bit of light at the bottom of it as well for the same principle. So a little bit more extra darkness where the chandelier is going to be. Okay, that strengthens that depth. Okay. I'm still checking, I'm still looking at the whole picture as a whole. Right, perhaps let's go for a darker color, darker ultramarine, a bit more cerulean in it. Maybe a little bit of violet just to keep the color stronger. Back to that. I think this spaces could be even better with extra depth. We want to use tiny bit of black. Just extra careful because black just will make your colors very dull. So just if you just want to make your blue stronger. Okay, I need some more ultramarine here. Just want to create some extra depth. Perhaps painting acrylics will be easier for less color contamination, but then you wouldn't get that lovely softness and merging and blending of the colors, which already been doing, and we'll be doing even more soon. I'm just looking for gaps I haven't filled in and making judgments where these gaps will be working better in dark or better in light. Okay, this a little bit more darker. And just planning for the chandelier to come in here. Okay. Now I was thinking of the balcony right at the bottom of our picture to have it quite light. Maybe something like this, maybe a little bit darker but stronger in color. But also I'm considering if I were to put a dark, that might be quite good as well. So I think I'm going to go with my initial plan of a lighter color. But then if I'm not too sure when it's in place, I will go darker. Right, so cerulean and white. I picked up another brush so I could have a darker color on one brush. Okay, I think that might work. Know about you, but it does feel very Christmassy with all these beautiful bold shapes of light and blues and bold oriental oranges and kind of almost turquoise uh, blues here as well. Okay, this column has fallen a little. And again, tweaks like that are less important for me now. I can work with them. I'm still working out my colors. I'm still working out my shapes. That lovely patch of almost like a carpet. Yeah, it's still developing, but it's much more wonderful appearance here now. Okay, and some more of this cerulean blue at the bottom. And I might connect it by painting a lighter border and then have that playful interaction of how it's going to merge. And then might be a little darker shapes will go out. Okay, something slowly happening. Okay, so most of my feelings of color are coming in. Let's look back to the areas I haven't finished. So there's some more of the ceiling here. So maybe some more fresh ultramarine. And maybe turn it to a little band or pattern. So when the column is here, I don't spot it. And this orange could come a little bit more automatically coming into the interior. Okay, and also slightly darker cerulean blue for this section as well. Okay, a little more stronger, so we do see that change. That's mosaic. Like texture. Okay, and I'm going to start bringing that mosaic color, mosaic type of strokes. So they might be coming in separately. I'll be going over some of the existing colors. Okay, that doesn't show much on my screen here. Now the areas I haven't painted, some of these ones, they remain in dark, and it's working. So I think I'm going to keep them dark. So if I want them cooler, I can just tone-wise, I'm happy to keep them darker. If I decided not to go cool, but to stay warm, maybe go more violet route and keep it within that violet darkness. Okay, that's good. Let's see, that's going to be too dark. Oh, that's too dark. It's a violet with no white. Okay, that's too marble-like. I just mix it and leave it for now. Okay, a bit more purpley. Violet almost close to the background purple, but it's a freshly mixed color and it's got some more boldness in it. Right, can I have anything added to my columns? Let's have a look at some of the key components, maybe a little magenta or rose madder. And let's bring some reflective surface to our shadows and the columns. Okay, that column is getting a bit more lost. Might need more darkness. Okay, this area could be a tiny bit lighter next to our orange. About on this side, if I'll put it a little bit lighter next to the cooler side, and then turn it to a darker shape. Okay, it means that I need to go much darker now. My ultramarine and violet without much white will give me that beautiful depth. And I'm going to bring back the deeper blue here. Okay, it's better. It's hard still to judge as there are a lot of reflective surfaces. Okay, but I'm happy to start adding some bolder lights. Right, now I'm going to pick up again my warm brush. Just going to double check it's not too full with orange. As I want to start adding some bold light, so I'll need my white and yellow, and quite a lot of white. I want to start getting a lovely golden effect from my light yellows. So just work, look how bold that looks. I think if I were to put, I might just put another layer under my another box under my board. So this golden color, so that's quite a lot of white and yellow, and also my paint is quite thick in comparison to the other layers. They were reasonably thick, but they were still soft and juicy. They weren't overly runny. But now I will be able to have I will be able to place it because it's so chunky. Okay, and I'm also going to blend it partially with some existing lights. Maybe I'll have some of my window borders slightly more light. Again, just looking at Jean Martin's work again, checking how can I make my windows not just blocks and plain, but how can I make that excitement there? Okay, can I make this window bold and light? I'm just going to check how it will start appearing. It might be quite exciting. Okay, so let's blend a little bit of this color. Okay, can it go slightly darker, but bring its power further down the picture? I'm adding gentle, small amount of orange. Can it go over my windows here? If they're not very neat, we can tidy them up with a darker blue. Okay, that's quite a nice glow. Now they become slightly different widths, but hopefully by the time I touch them up in various ways, they will start changing that size. I keep topping up fresh paint, so if the blue gets picked up by my brush, I'm also not spreading it further. Okay, this is quite exciting. Might make this, it's almost like a sub frame for them. Okay, these ones might just have little hints of that light. Okay. It just makes those shapes. If I just put a little dab of yellow, little streak, less strong. Okay, maybe these ones will have less yellow but more white and blue. Okay, the other ones are working for me, middle row. Right, can some more golden color come further down? It gets mucky with existing darks. My strokes from time to time break into little dabby strokes to show the shine, to show the change of surface or pattern, decorative patterns around. Yeah, how do we do it without being too accurate with I'm not gonna draw some elaborate, wonderful mosaics. Or we can do it by light. Okay, so this light is gonna travel now on top of my ledge here. Okay, I just need to make sure that I'm not gonna be over repetitive with it. So if the light is catching some golden colors here, doesn't mean that they will have to go and spread evenly elsewhere. We might catch it below here. If you struggle with bringing some fresh color and start smudging and smudging, making quite mucky effect, don't be worried of leaving and coming back with it when the paints just dry a little more in a couple of days. So you can add more fresh color. Okay, just picking up some fresh white and yellow. Maybe stronger than I need, but I'm hoping by the time I smudge the paint, it will start showing a better effect. Okay. I like how this progressing. I'm touching up slightly more whitish yellow, and I could still make shapes light, so that mosaic glow is happening again. I just smudge this one a bit more softer. It's nice to have some sharper borders, some softer borders. Right, what's this little monster here? Do I want it lighter or do I want it darker? Okay, let's put it light. I can always make it a tiny bit darker. Okay, that's okay. Any merging areas, I'll make sure that I have soft strokes. Any other bold light marks, maybe around some of these windows. The thicker the paint you go, the easier it will be for you to place it and leave it. Okay. Really liking this section. I'm really liking these areas. I'm really liking a bit more here, but still quite a bit to go. Okay, let's come back to more orange, lighter perhaps orange color. Let's bring some of the missing columns here. So very decorative and playful. I think you're doing an exciting patchwork. Okay, I think that's a little too light. Mhm. Yeah. Right, I'm going to touch up my chandelier and see how that light interacts. Tiny bit more light here to balance it. Right. So for the chandelier, I'm going to start with off-white color. So I've got a bit of a palette beigey color. So anything on the palette of the light tone, I'm going to do some dabs. Right, this is over this column. Okay, so little dabs going across. So we're starting with slightly darker color before we put some bolder light. So this is wider shapes perhaps for the lights close to us, and perhaps a little smaller ones, or maybe I just change the direction of my brush so they go a bit more horizontally one. Okay, so that just shows that oval of the chandelier. Okay, and then I'll need a smaller brush with some fresh white and a very small amount of yellow, quite a lot of white for some of our finishing touches. And let's get it nice and bold in those kind of center, just off center of those beige strokes. I'll do a stroke and I pick up fresh color. If it gets mucky, again some extra fresh white. So I'm not just covering the beige color, otherwise it will look wrong paint area. Otherwise the color will just the lighter color will just cover up that beige and it will look flat. So painting it next to it or just leaving some of it is a better option. Becomes much more three-dimensional. That's better. And I might do that connection of light as well. Perhaps there will be a chandelier on the other side. Maybe I'll just do it in a smaller version somewhere there. Yeah, or maybe even another one. That's how my picture develops. It gives that feel. Okay, that might be there. And I would like to do a little bit of drawing for the metal work. Just I think in a similar color will be fine. It will probably pick up the highlights. We'll start getting some extra light. Yeah, a bit suggestive. Some structures holding it together, and perhaps again just suggestive lines, and perhaps something vertical, and that could be your cooler color. It could be a it looks solid line for the moment. So what I'll do, I'll have more time, I'll tidy that line by bringing the little bit of blue over, a little bit of light over, and perhaps that line will become a darker tone as well, darker shape. So we'll have my, quite like that diagonal, that rail, that structure, and that darker tone will link. Yeah, so it will disappear and appear, and the connection will start happening as well. Might pick up a little bit of other light reflecting in it, so it's not too intrusive there as well. So things are slowly happening. There's still quite a bit to go. But the overall shapes are in place. So just the nuances, touching things up, maybe lining up certain areas, maybe tweaking the windows and playing with their light, maybe like the same here, just tweaking some of the reflective light and stepping away constantly. Are you overdoing it? Is it staying still, keeping it all together as a unity? So thank you so much for your patience today. I hope you'll continue working on this piece, and I look forward to seeing your pictures. Stay in that festive mood while you can finish it. Don't leave it till summer. Otherwise, it might be different. Maybe this time next year you'll be finishing it off. So thank you very much for today. And I look forward to seeing how you'll complete your painting.